In the heart of Vermont's Green Mountains, a patch of wilderness holds on to its secrets. Between 1945 and 1950, 5 people vanished in this area, never to be seen again. The locals call it the Bennington Triangle. Some blame the rugged terrain, others whisper of darker forces. What really happened on Glastonbury Mountain? The story begins with a seasoned guide who knew these woods like the back of his hand. The Bennington Triangle isn't a place you'll find on any official map. It's a roughly 36-square-mile area in southwestern Vermont, centered around Glastonbury Mountain. Once home to a bustling logging town, Glastonbury became a ghost town by the 1930s. The mountain and its surrounding forests have long been steeped in mystery. Native Abenaki people considered this land cursed, avoiding it for centuries. They spoke of a man-eating stone and strange winds that would swallow anyone who ventured too far into the wilderness. Today, hikers on the long trail pass through this area, often unaware of its dark history. But between 1945 and 1950, this picturesque wilderness became the focal point of a series of baffling disappearances. Our story begins on November 12, 1945, with a man who knew these woods better than almost anyone else. Middie Rivers was no ordinary man of the woods. At 74 years old, he was a living legend in Bennington County. Born and raised in the area, Rivers had spent most of his life exploring the forests and mountains around Glastonbury. He was known as one of the most experienced hunting guides in the region, with an uncanny ability to navigate the rugged terrain. Local hunters often sought Rivers' expertise, trusting his deep knowledge of the land and its wildlife. His friends described him as robust and sharp-minded despite his age, with a passion for the outdoors that never dimmed. Rivers knew every trail, every stream, and every rocky outcrop on Glastonbury Mountain. He could read the forest like a book, understanding its moods and its dangers. For decades, he had led countless hunting parties safely through these woods. But on that crisp November day in 1945, even Middie Rivers' vast experience couldn't prepare him for what was about to unfold. November 12, 1945, dawned cold and clear in the Green Mountains. It was the kind of day hunters dream of: perfect visibility and a light dusting of snow to reveal animal tracks. Middie Rivers set out early that morning, leading a group of 4 hunters into the wilderness near Bickford Hollow. The mood was light as they trekked through the forest, their breath visible in the crisp air. The group was searching for deer, moving carefully through the underbrush. Rivers was in his element, pointing out signs of wildlife and guiding the party through the terrain he knew so well. As noon approached, the hunters decided to break for lunch. They were about to head back to their camp when Rivers suggested scouting a bit further ahead. He told the group he'd rejoin them shortly at the camp. The other hunters watched as the 74-year-old guide confidently strode deeper into the forest. It was the last time anyone would see Middie Rivers alive. When he didn't return to the camp, the hunters weren't immediately alarmed. After all, this was Middie Rivers, the man who knew these woods better than anyone. But as the afternoon wore on and the shadows lengthened, concern began to grow. As dusk approached, the reality set in. Middie Rivers was missing. The hunters, now fraught with worry, began searching the immediate area, calling out Rivers' name. Their voices echoed through the darkening forest, met only by an eerie silence. Unable to find any trace of their guide, the hunting party rushed back to Bennington to alert the authorities. By nightfall, a full-scale search operation was underway. The next morning, dozens of volunteers, police officers, and experienced woodsmen combed the area. They retraced the hunting party's steps, scoured nearby trails, and explored off-path areas where Rivers might have wandered. Days turned into weeks. The search expanded, covering an ever wider radius around Bickford Hollow. Tracking dogs were brought in, aircraft scanned from above, and even psychics were consulted in desperate attempts to locate the missing guide. But as the harsh Vermont winter set in, hope began to fade. Despite the exhaustive efforts, not a single clue to Rivers' fate was uncovered. No clothing, no equipment, not even a footprint. It was as if Middie Rivers had simply vanished into thin air. The only potential evidence found was a single rifle cartridge discovered in a stream. Some speculated it might have fallen from Rivers' pocket as he crossed the water, but this theory was never confirmed. As weeks stretched into months, the search was gradually scaled back. The mountain had kept its secret, leaving behind only questions and a grieving community. The disappearance of Middie Rivers baffled investigators. How could a man so familiar with the terrain simply vanish without a trace? As the official search wound down, speculation ran rampant. The most straightforward theory was that Rivers had suffered a medical emergency, perhaps a heart attack, and died in a remote location that searchers failed to find. But this didn't explain the complete absence of any physical evidence. Some suggested that Rivers might have fallen into one of the area's abandoned wells or mine shafts, remnants of Glastonbury's logging past. These deep pits, often hidden by overgrowth, could have easily concealed a body. However, extensive searches of known shafts turned up nothing. A darker theory proposed foul play. Could Rivers have encountered dangerous individuals in the woods? But again, no evidence of a struggle or crime was ever found. As time passed, more outlandish theories emerged. Some linked Rivers' disappearance to UFO sightings in the area. Others spoke of a portal on the mountain, swallowing unsuspecting travelers. These ideas gained traction as more disappearances occurred in the following years. Local folklore about the Abenaki curse on the land resurfaced, with some believing that ancient spirits had claimed Rivers. Despite these varied theories, the official investigation remained inconclusive. The case of Middie Rivers became the first in a series of mysteries that would define the Bennington Triangle. To this day, hikers and hunters in the Green Mountains whisper about the fate of the experienced guide who knew the forest like no other, yet couldn't find his way home. The vanishing of Middie Rivers sent shockwaves through Bennington County, but it was only the beginning of the mystery. 1 year later, on a cold December afternoon, a young college student would set out for a walk on the long trail near Glastonbury Mountain. Like Rivers, she would step into the forest and disappear without a trace. Her name was Paula Weldon, and her story would captivate the nation, drawing all eyes to the enigma of the Bennington Triangle. Join us next time as we delve into the perplexing case of Paula Weldon and the terror that gripped this small Vermont town in the winter of 1946 and the second disappearance in the series of disappearances of the Bennington Triangle. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any episodes in this fascinating 5-part series.